Rusty Humphries. This is the Rusty Humphries Rebellion. We'll be starting in a matter of moments. A lot going on, including a transgender barista who threatened and may have poisoned people at a conservative conference. That's coming up in a couple of minutes. Also, is Paul Ryan stepping down? We'll get into that. The Stormy Daniels story, we'll talk about just a little bit. The current leadership of the Democrat Party, and a whole bunch more. Do me a favor, if you would, please check in. Let me know who you are, where you're a deplorable from. I want to say your name. I want to give you a nice shout out as we get this Monday edition of the Rusty Humphries Rebellion on the road and ready to go. So check in, share the video, and we'll get started in just a matter of moments. I need to do our official, but you know what? I don't want to do the official open. Let's just get started, man. We got a lot to talk about. So, first of all, welcome. How are you? The Rusty Humphries Rebellion, powered by Right Wing News. You can also watch us on Liberty One TV and listen to me on the HearMeOut app. Now, before we really get into what's going on in the news, make sure that you check in. I want to see you. I want to see your names. I want to say hello. But I want you to imagine for a moment that you couldn't hear anything in the news that has a conservative slant to it. I want you to imagine that the left wing has won. They've succeeded. That all there is liberal and more liberal and then basically communist news out there, and you can't find anything. It's happening right now. The whole, Cambridge Analytica story, that's a phony story. That's just another attempt of the left to say, hey, look what the right's doing and how bad it is, and we need to shut them down. It was an organization that got zero influence, maybe a teeny tiny bit. The left-wing organizations were far more effective. It's not our fault that Hillary Clinton sucked and that Donald Trump was a great candidate. You may not like Donald Trump. There's a lot of people that didn't like Donald Trump, but there's a lot of things Donald Trump did that were brilliant when it comes to persuading the American people. Now, as you imagine this moment that you can't hear or see or read anything else on the conservative spectrum, what do? Well, I'm going to go to Facebook. It'll be off Facebook. Well, what about Twitter? It'll be off Twitter. Fox News. Well, Fox News is becoming more liberal every day. CNN's been gone forever. CNN makes MSNBC starting to look conservative. There's one outlet where you and I can communicate. And it's not on the big social media companies. It's a little app that's just getting started. It's the little app that could, called HearMeOut. Well, I don't want another app. I got things to do. I understand. Believe me. But we no longer have the luxury of thinking that we can just click on a computer and what the real news, the true news, not the fake news, will be there. The fake news is slowly but surely like a cancer spreading across the internet. And the big story isn't the Cambridge Analytica or whatever the hell the company is. It is the destruction of conservative media outlets and how many people are out of work today. How many companies have gone out of business just since January? Now, how do you make action? How do you make a difference? Go to the Hear Me Out app and follow me, Rusty Humphries. I don't do just politics all the time. I'll do some funny stuff, some interesting stuff, but I'm telling you, this is the one outlet that I am sure has not been taken over by far left-wing activists. So please, don't wait. Don't say I'm going to do it tomorrow. Just go on your phone right now and go to your app store or the Google store and download the Hear Me Out app. Sign up. It doesn't cost anything. Find me, Rusty Humphries. There's no space between Rusty and Humphries because I was stupid when I signed up. And then you'll find other conservatives and other people on there. And you'll find liberals too. What I love about it is a free-for-all. I want to hear more voices, not less. And that's what you should want too. We want to hear from more people, not less people. Because the more that I think the left gets heard, the worse they look. I'll give you a great example. There was a conservative conference that happened over the weekend. I'm going to tell you about that in a second. First, let me say hello to some nice folks that are watching and listening right now. Brian is there from Jersey. Beth is there. Judy checking in from Illinois. Hi. Beth is in Longview, Texas. Stephen is in Rossville, Georgia. Hey, Steve, how are you? Chris is a deplorable from Pennsylvania. Mike is checking in from Florida. Jill is there from Michigan. Kathleen is from Cleveland, Ohio. Hi, Nancy, Wisconsin. Brian says, bring it, Rusty. I'm bringing it, Brian. Have you followed me on the Hear Me Out app? Very important. Very important. Vince is in Charleston, South Carolina. Gary is in Pennsylvania. Diane is in Michigan. Scott says poisoning. There should be a public hanging from Texas. I'll tell you about the story in just a second. Nina is in Missouri. Mary is a deplorable in South Texas. Janet's there. Pamela is joining in from Arizona, where I am supporting Kelly Ward for U.S. Senate. We need to have Kelly Ward on the show. I think Thursday I'm going to have Kelly Ward on the show. Patty's in California. And Edward's in New York State. Greg is from Pennsylvania. Brian is in Atlanta, Georgia. How you doing, Brian? Cindy is there, Texas, deplorable. Brian is there, Aurora, Colorado. Rich from Pennsylvania. Morgan is in Colorado. Kaylin from Louisiana. Michael from North Carolina saying, what's up? Look at all these fine people, says Brian. Yep. Roger's deplorable from Oregon. Brian agrees. Fox News is a shadow of its former self. Kara's there. Jesse's there. And so on. Guys, thank you very much. Keep checking in, and I will keep going through everything. Joe's there. Shanice, Richard, Brian. Okay. So, in Phoenix, Arizona, over the weekend, they had what they're calling the Western CPAC. It's a conservative conference. I didn't go this year, but I had a lot of friends that went. And at this conservative conference, they had a lot of good people there. Herman Cain was there. My old friend Floyd Brown was there. And Aaron Klein was there. And James O'Keefe and a lot of people were there. And this story came out, and it's just shocking to me. Shocking, disappointing, disgusting, and wrong. A transgender proudly admits to drugging attendees at a conservative conference. A transgender woman claimed to be drugging attendees of a conservative conference in Phoenix, Arizona. The biological male, an alleged Starbucks employee identified on Twitter as Lauren, claimed to be slipping estrogen pills into the drinks of unsuspecting customers at the conference. Here's the tweet. I love my job at the Phoenix Convention Center Starbucks, and I love slipping my spare estradiol pills in the coffee of anyone wearing a Western Conservative Conference lanyard. Now, my friends, you may not think it's that big of a deal to slip a little bit of estrogen to a couple of conservatives here and there. I'm telling you, that can have severe effects on some unsuspecting human being. What if they were allergic to that pill? What if there was some kind of a interaction between something that person was already taking and this? Who in the hell do you think you are? When you think you are so special and so important, and your ideas are so much more important that you think it's okay to poison people that you disagree with. Kara says, I am really getting tired of this crap. I know we're supposed to be above all of this, but there are times when I just want to go eye for an eye. Gregory thinks, what about the heart attacks? Could be. There are old people there. Sometimes there are sick people. Now, I'm pretty sure that Lauren isn't a doctor. And, you know, if Lauren wants to be a woman or a man or whatever Lauren wants to be, that's up to Lauren. I don't think that Lauren should be in the military where the military's paying for Lauren's change. And if Starbucks wants to pay for it, good for them. But the idea that Lauren thinks that he or she is so smart, so important, so above everything else, above everybody else, that she believes it's okay and funny to poison people at a conference because she disagrees with them politically is dangerous. It's dangerous. Now, what is happening? You know, I've been talking for a while here on the Rusty Humphries Rebellion about influence and persuasion. I've been showing you over the past few months the techniques that the left are using against you and against the American people so that you can more easily spot them. I think this is a very, very important thing that we're doing. Now, you know, there's a lot of people. Edward says, by the way, it's against the law to give someone medication that's prescribed to you. Good point. Richard says liberalism is a disease. Bonnie says, see, their brains are gone. Kara says, yep, I know meds like Zoloft are deadly when interacted with other drugs. Here's what has happened. And why it's so dangerous. What the left was successful in doing was branding in the minds of their followers, of their sheep, of the people that aren't very mentally strong, to be honest. They were successful in branding Donald Trump as the next Hitler. Oh, he's gonna kill gays. By the way, Donald Trump, the most pro-gay president probably in history. I mean, Barack Obama may have been more pro-gay in his private life, if you know what I mean. But in public, again, let's not forget, it was Barack Obama who, before he was elected president, was very clear he thought marriage should be between a man or a woman. Man and a woman. But what did the left do in branding and in influencing their people against Donald Trump? He's Hitler. He hates everybody that's not like him. He hates gays. He hates Mexicans. He hates blacks. He hates women. He hates you. And because he hates you, he is not qualified to be the president of the United States. And so anybody that supports him, of course, is a member of the Klan. Right? We've all heard these things. But what does this do? What did words like Donald Trump's speech was dark? What do all of these words mean? What they mean is, if you could have taken out Hitler back in 1938, would you have done it? I would have. Any good person would have. and by branding Donald Trump Hitler, by branding Donald Trump a racist, a hater, the left has given permission to hate. Their speech is that of hate speech. We have been the ones of inclusion. I don't hate you. I don't hate anybody that has a differing opinion of me. As a matter of fact, I want to hear more opinions. Right? Isn't that what I say, what you say often? What does the left do? No, we want to shut that down. That's hate. That's the fascism. They don't want to hear the truth. Because if the truth, well, here's something else. In today's world, facts don't matter. And we conservatives focus on the facts. And I've been telling you that that's wrong in the persuasion game. We need to focus on the emotion of the argument. If we want to persuade people, if we want to get people that are paying more attention to their own lives, and that's okay. That's what America's about. They should be paying attention to their lives and their jobs and their kids and all these things. But we have to understand, as they are being brainwashed by the left, we need to brainwash them back. And it sounds funny when you use words like brainwash. It sounds conspiratorial. But I'm going to continue to point out little things. For example, the brainwashing. Well, let's take a look at what the current leadership of the Democrat Party today. We have Hillary Clinton. We have the anti-gun, Tide Pod eating generation. And we have a porn star. That's basically who's running the left right now. Why? The emotion. Each one carries incredible emotion. Now, Hillary's emotional bag of tricks is going away. She was the first woman. She felt your pain. She's going to stand up for womanhood and gays and women and everybody but straight white men. And she was going to break that glass ceiling, and we have to do it. You know, I'm with her, which was terrible branding, by the way. I'm with her. What's beautiful branding today is what happened over the weekend. Allowing these children to appear to use their emotions, to get everybody behind them, to say, oh, isn't it sad? Isn't it awful? I mean, I've got a heart, okay? It is sad and awful. What happened to these kids? The ones that were in the school when the gunman was there and they got all shot up. It's awful, and it's scary, and it's emotional. It's sad. I mean, there's nothing good about it. What's even worse, though, is that they are being manipulated into giving up one of our rights. And you may not like the right, but you never want to give up a right. You never want to say, oh, you know what, I don't like number two. Then pretty soon they'll take away number one. The 10th Amendment, that's pretty much already gone. I mean, it's very hard to emotionally fight against this anti-gun thing, especially now. They've got some great people behind it. One of the most famous people in the history of the world was out marching over the weekend. Sir Paul McCartney. What did he have to say? Listen to his emotional argument.
The people want to end gun violence. You know, it's too prevalent. Every week you hear about a new shooting. And nothing's done about it. But I think maybe after this, something will be done about it. So I'm just lending my voice to it.
Okay. That clip didn't have everything. The other part on there that was even more powerful was he said, one of my best friends was shot right down the street. I mean, we were all touched by the death of John Lennon. Even if you weren't a fan of the Beatles, the murder of John Lennon was horrible. And it does touch at your heartstrings. But here's what's great about America. Have Sir Paul McCartney go into Mexico and go to a protest march. You know what they do? They arrest you. In most countries, if you're not a citizen of that country, you can't protest. You have no voice in their politics. There might be something to that. I like Paul McCartney's music, although I haven't really cared much about the Beatles for a long time. But what right does Paul McCartney have to speak in our country? Well, thankfully for him, we have a First Amendment. Now, what I don't understand is how our Bill of Rights applies to non-citizens. I still am trying to figure out how illegal immigrants and non-citizens get the same rights as you and me. Oh, well, they don't get to vote. Right. I mean, other than them not having to pay as many taxes, I'm not quite sure the benefit I have of being a citizen over an illegal immigrant. Question is, how do we fight back? Now, the good news is that there are good people out there. There are people that are trying to get the real story, the stories that you're not going to hear in the media. Have you shared the video, by the way? You're not getting this truth everywhere. By the way, last week, the same company that owns the Rush Limbaugh show and I believe the Sean Hannity show still, I'm not positive, went bankrupt. And they might be selling. They have 1,500 radio stations, iHeartMedia. They're broke. The other big one, Cumulus, went bankrupt in December. Oh, but we got talk radio, Rusty. It'll be around forever. Talking to a guy that had the 6th largest talk show in America. Me. I know the radio business. I've been in it since 1982. I've had the lowest job and the highest jobs in the radio business. If you think the freedom of speech of talk show hosts is guaranteed, you are wrong. Radio stations are the shells they used to be just 4 or 5 years ago. I mean, do you hear all the local hosts you used to hear? No, well, you got the national hosts for now. Conservative voices are being silenced. One way to fight back is to follow me on the Hear Me Out app. Another thing is to go and check out a new group I'm working with, the LibertyOneTV.com group. Some good hosts on there. They're young, they're hungry, they're conservative, and they love America. You want to have some conservative outlets still available? You might want to go to LibertyOneTV.com and subscribe for $2, $3, $4 a month, whatever it is. Brian thinks media is completely controlled by the New World Order agenda. No, it is controlled by money. And right now, the guys like George Soros have the money. The conservatives think, again, using facts and not emotion, using what they think is reason, logic. They're listening to the baloney of The liberal media, oh, conservative media is fine. Talk radio is fine. Oh, don't worry. Don't look over there. While they are doing everything in their power to shut down conservative media. I am not making this up. This is not a drill. This is the truth and the reality of what's happening. I've been yelling this from the rooftops for the past 5 years, and nobody's listening, and now it's happening. Take a listen to the father of one of the young people that were murdered by that terrorist that walked into the school, and a young man who was there.
He could have saved everybody on that 6th floor, not only my kid, but the others. And my daughter got shot 9 times. It was Valentine's Day when this whole nightmare started. I was on a picnic with my wife. That's when I got the first text that there was a shooting.
My name is Kyle Kashuv. I'm a 16-year-old junior at Stoneman Douglas. And I was there the day of the shooting.
That sheriff was at that door at the 3rd minute mark before this guy went up to the 3rd floor. So he told me that he could have saved everybody on that 6th floor, not only my kid, but the others. And my daughter got shot 9 times, 4 times, and then she managed to crawl to the door. And then she put her arms around a freshman, my daughter's 18 senior, and the detective said, Andy, you won't believe it, your daughter covered this girl in the doorway, and then this guy came and shot my daughter at point blank 5 more times, and the bullets went through my daughter and killed the girl underneath her too. Why this motherfucker just waited right out the door, and he let this shit happen. And now he's retired, and he's going to get his pension and go live in Arizona somewhere.
I think the proper question is, how come the media isn't representing people like Andrew Pollack and Ryan Petty, who are doing the legislative work that is enacting change like we've seen? And it's not being represented because it's more important to depict David Hogg and his latest opinion on the NRA versus real people who don't want to see this happen, who lost someone very close to them, who even though they're Republicans and conservatives, they've reached across the aisle and they're doing the necessary work to make sure this doesn't happen. These are the people that need to be blasted across the headlines every single day.
My daughter was killed, so they're here today. So if anyone knows how they're feeling, it's me. You know, I feel and I empathize with how much pain they got. But I would urge them, now they're all together, it's great, they're going to be heard, but I would urge them to focus on school safety.
This isn't just a gun control debate. Making sure schools are safe, not everything has to do with guns.
You don't think about gun control when you go on an airplane. You're not thinking about gun control when you go into a stadium. Why does that come from when we're thinking about safety with our kids? Why is it about gun control? It should be about hardening the schools and them being safe.
The only other thing I would say is that there's a clear-cut way to getting legislation passed, and there's a clear-cut way to getting adults to listen to you. And hanging up on the president, first of all, is not that way. Legal law-abiding gun owners of America, not all Stoneman Douglas students, hate you and think you're extreme. And look, we're fighting for you. I will not rest until I can make sure that the unalienable rights guaranteed by the Second Amendment will not be infringed upon.
Well said and well done. I'm sorry. Even I get upset, sad. I've got a daughter that goes to high school. There's been a couple of gun threats just down the street. What I don't like is seeing this one kid, this Hogg kid, who is just relishing the limelight and being used. And, we need to listen to that guy. Oh, man, that kid is so smart. I wouldn't let that kid choose dinner, much less decide which constitutional right I should be giving up. The arrogance. And again, the left are masters. How else are they masterfully influencing our country? Well, they get in office, and they hire as many of their... Well, first of all, the unions help get them in office. Once they get in office, then they give unions raises, especially governmental unions. Then they hire as many of their buddies as possible from academia, don't know what the hell they're doing, or Democrat Party operatives. And those guys hire as many people, and they hire as many people, and the government keeps getting bigger and bigger. And then when a Republican gets in and says, I'm going to start putting some Republicans in, they go, what? You can't do that. It's terrible. You're going to put these poor people out of work. They've got families. Now, the second a Democrat comes in, everybody's gone. Everybody's gone. But Republicans come in, and they want to get along. They want to be nice. So Bush didn't fire anybody. W didn't fire anybody. They just want to get along. And that's what this deep state is. It's not some big conspiracy of people that are trying to take over the government. It is just decades long of ingrained people who don't want to lose their jobs and who have been influenced in the fact to believe that Donald Trump is the next Hitler. Kara says they repeat over and over, it's all about the children, all about the children. Right. That's an emotional trigger. Everybody loves our children, right? Everybody wants what's best for our children. See, I really want what's best for our children. I don't just want it to be a political thing. Democrats are very patient in allowing, if they lose an election, they know the judiciary got their back. That's why it's so important that Donald Trump stay in for 8 years and continue to get these judges in power and get rid of the liberal ones. Brian says, using pure emotion, lacking any credible common logic. But Brian, the fact is that facts don't matter in today's world. It is the most persuasive emotional argument that makes the difference when it comes to today's politics. All right? There is a story about, and this is a CNN story, and this area, they got guns in schools with the teachers. Oh no, let's see how horrible this is.
We'll do whatever's necessary to protect our kids and staff.
This is the stark message that greets you when you walk into one of the two school buildings in Callisburg, Texas. Superintendent Steve Clugston oversees what the school district calls the Guardian Program.
By the way, let me back that up just a little bit here just for a second because I want to read that sign because it looked good to me. It says, attention, please be aware that certain staff members at Callisburg ISD are armed and may use whatever force is necessary.
Walk into one of the two school buildings in Callisburg, Texas.
Good.
Superintendent Steve Clugston oversees what the school district calls the Guardian Program. It's a small force of volunteer school staff allowed to carry a concealed firearm, and Clugston says they're equipped to confront an active shooter.
We don't want to be at the mercy of, somebody that's intent on doing harm.
Good.
We refuse to be that person.
In the wake of the Stoneman Douglas High School shooting, the idea of arming teachers has sparked outrage.
Am I supposed to have a Kevlar vest? Am I supposed to strap it to my leg or put it in my desk?
I don't believe teachers should be armed.
Dumbass.
I believe teachers should teach.
But in some mostly rural communities across the country, the idea of arming teachers is welcomed, even by some students, like this freshman and junior at Callisburg High School who asked that we not identify them.
I feel protected. I don't feel like they're going to threaten me in any way. I feel like if someone came in, that I know that they're going to handle it. So I feel very protected.
I feel really safe knowing that I can, like, come to school, and if there's, like, an incident that does happen, that they'll be able to, like, protect us.
Out of the roughly 1,000 school districts across the state of Texas, there are about 170 that have a policy of allowing teachers or administrators to carry a firearm on campus.
Good.
Here in the small town of Callisburg, their Guardian program was implemented about 4 years ago, in large part because the city doesn't have a local police department. They rely on county sheriffs. And in a county this large, it can take many minutes for those deputies to respond to something like a shooting scene inside a school. Clugston says the school's Guardian force undergoes active shooter scenario training once a year and routine target practice at gun ranges. But critics say that isn't enough. The school officer at Stoneman Douglas, who was trained far more extensively, waited outside the building as the gunman unleashed a deadly massacre. Steve Clugston is convinced that if his Guardians face the same ordeal, they won't flinch.
Yeah.
We're trying to put our teachers in a position to be better equipped to protect their kids. And I have complete faith in our team that they're willing to stand up and protect our people.
The armed teachers here haven't faced the worst-case scenario, so the question remains, how will they react if they're forced to face a killer? Ed Lavendera, CNN, Callisburg, Texas.
Okay, I would sure rather have a bunch of teachers, again, who you don't know who's got the gun and who doesn't have the gun, who does have the gun. I would sure rather have that than have to rely on police who, let's just give them the benefit of that, can only be there when they can get there. You know, how hard is that to comprehend? Somebody intent on doing harm, not an inanimate object intent on doing harm. That's correct. Jill thinks that one sheriff's deputy was a coward, never should have been an officer of any kind. Yep. Shanice says, I believe that teachers should have the right to carry a handgun. I support it. Matter as a fact, a county here in my state is in the process of training teachers to carry. It should be voluntary. And if the teachers want to do it, they should be able to do it. If they don't want to do it, they don't have to do it. Pretty simple, if you ask me. Hopefully, they'll never, ever have to use it. Ever. But I think it makes a lot of sense that, we have protection for our students. But that's me. All right, I'm running short of time. But before I go, do you mind if we do a little something happy? Just a little something happy. Found this online. I get a big kick out of this. This looks like my dog Jack. And he's at a carnival. There was a carnival right by my house the other day. And I should have taken Jack to do this. I love this video. Going up, running up the stairs. Going as fast as you can. Going fast. Yeah, there's no audio. And then he gets up on top of the slide. And there he goes. Look at that little Yorkie. And he's getting back, going as fast as he can, going to get back up there. Running back up. Oh, I love this dog. This looks I'm telling you, it looks exactly like my dog Jack. Put him back on the slide. And there he goes. Woo! Sliding down the big giant slide. Look at that tail of wagon. Tail of wagon. I love that. What a cute video. Oh, one more thing about videos quickly. Hey, did you hear that there's a porn star that is saying that Donald Trump had sex with her 12 years ago? Biggest ratings for 60 Minutes. First time I watched 60 Minutes in I don't know how long. Does it bother you? So, again, the story is 12 years ago, Donald Trump met her at a golf tournament in Lake Tahoe, and that, by the way, is a very famous golf tournament. It's a very big one. I used to live in Reno, and the Reno Tahoe celebrity golf tournament was a big, big, big deal. And so they got it on, And he promised to get her on The Apprentice or said he'd work on it. Never happened. They never had sex again. He saw her one more time, kind of hit on her a little bit, and that was it, the end. And then supposedly somebody threatened her and then gave her a bunch of money, and then that wasn't enough. Question. Is it hypocritical as a group of people who said it's horrible that Bill Clinton did certain things and still defend Donald Trump? Now, a friend of mine, Gianna Maselli, had a great post on Facebook. She says, I love how sanctimonious 60 Minutes is holier than thou. They had one anchor, Charlie Rose, fired for abusing women, had their current anchor, Steve Croft, caught in an affair, their other anchor, Dan Rather, caught with forged documents. I guess those actors lack credibility due to their profession. And let's not forget Anderson Cooper and his little side stuff. Let's see here. Let's see here. VC says, tell someone that cares. Gretchen says, Stormy is a ho-ho. Bradley says, 12 years? Huh, not like a Hummer in the Oval. Kara says, I really don't care. Like with his taxes, he was a private citizen not being paid by our tax money, unlike Bill Clinton. Janet says he wasn't president. I'll take it one step further. It appears that during that time, about 12 years ago, that Donald Trump was having maybe a midlife crisis. Here's my guess. My guess was he had always wanted to be a star. He had some celebrity as this billionaire builder, but he always wanted to be a star. And then he got the #1 TV show in America. And I'll bet you he went, now what? It didn't fill the hole in his heart at the time. Melania had been pregnant. Maybe they were having issues at home. I don't know. My guess is that Donald Trump went through a crisis period in his life, and we all go through them. And it also appears that Donald Trump has moved past that, or we would have heard a lot more stories of ones that happened recently. Like, well, let's see. Every Democrat president, I'll just about see. We know that FDR had a girlfriend, although he did marry his first cousin, but they didn't really get it on that much. So he had a girlfriend. And then we know that Kennedy had them like every day, 2 or 3. And we know that Johnson had them. And after Johnson was Nixon, he didn't have them. After Nixon, it was Ford. We don't know about Ford. Then it was Carter. Probably not. And then Clinton. No, then Reagan. No. Clinton, yes, of course. Anyway. Those guys were doing it as president of the United States. John Edwards was running for president and getting the yum-yum. Ramona thinks Melania is a loving, forgiving woman. I'm sure it hurt. I'm sure it was awful. I'm sure it was one of the worst times of their marriage, but they got through it. And again, I am not condoning what Trump may or may not have done. But what I am saying is I would much rather have somebody that made mistakes in the past, learn from his mistakes, and is a better man for it, other than continuing to do it. For example, if you go to the Nixon Library, you will see a man in his history that had, there's the Watergate tapes and there's all kinds of stuff that he did wrong in the impeachment. It's all in there. You go to Bill Clinton's presidential library, and I've been there. It was all the Republicans' fault. He ain't know nothing. Republicans did it. No Monica, no Dret, nothing. So the difference is a man that made mistakes and learned from them, Nixon, for example, and a man that made mistakes and has never learned from them, Bill Clinton. So, those are my thoughts. My other thought is how concerned I am about our speech being silenced and how many thousands of people are not hearing this message because you haven't shared the video. Have you done that yet today? Have you shared the video? Have you shared the video? Have you shared the video? Have you commented? Have you said who you were? You need to take action, because if we don't take action, believe me, those people on the left would love to make sure our voices are never heard from again. That's their goal. My goal is to make sure everybody is heard. So please, I need your help. Share the video. Comment right now. And also follow me. Download the Hear Me Out app. Take that action now. It doesn't cost anything. Follow me on the Hear Me Out app. Download it right now to your smartphone. Sign up and follow me, Rusty Humphries, on the Hear Me Out app. I think you'll enjoy it and you'll have some fun. And you should upload and Hear Me Out too. I want to hear what you have to say. If you type in hashtag Rusty in your posts, I'll follow you too. How about that, okay? Here every night, Monday through Thursday, 9 p.m. in the East, 6 p.m. in the West, unless I got something else going on. Wasn't here last week. I'm glad to be here this week. Thank you so much. And don't forget to check out my podcast, The Rusty Humphries Rebellion. And we review everything with author Orson Scott Card that comes out once a week. Find it at iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Radio Public, wherever great, iHeartRadio, wherever great podcasts are found. That's it. May God bless you and may God bless America. My name is Rusty Humphries, and this is the Rusty Humphries Rebellion. Thanks. See you tomorrow.